I had been wanting to replace my brushes for a while now. If you watched my last video, I mentioned I had decluttered almost all of the brushes that I had, but I've had a mix of different brushes and brush sets for years, and instead of constantly picking like one brush from each collection, I wanted one really good set that I could use every day and then to declutter the rest. So when Makeup by Kelli Anne announced her collection with Real Techniques, I did not hesitate at all. I've watched Kelli Anne's videos for years. I've learned so much about makeup from her. She is a makeup artist. One of the biggest things that she's taught was to apply makeup in really light layers. Normally, I'm the type of person that just needs to slap my makeup on my face extremely quickly, so light layers is not my normal technique, but I know it would look better. So today I'm putting her brushes and her technique to the test. I picked up everything from the collection except for the powder puffs. So I'll share what I think is actually worth it, what I would personally skip, and hopefully help you decide what you might want to get if you're thinking about picking up something from the collection. So everything that launched is being sold through Ulta. First up is the premium brush set. This comes with a brush case and 7 double-ended brushes. Are all of them dual-ended? Yes. And I think this one is only sold online, not in stores. I'm pretty sure that the other items in the collection are sold both online and in stores. And this is $65. I love that she partnered with Real Techniques and made this a very affordable set. When I saw that she was launching brushes, I honestly thought they'd be like 200 some dollars. But these are really good quality brushes for a really good price. She also has a light layers base makeup set, which has, I believe, 3 different brushes and the brush case, but the 3 brushes in that set are also included in this set, so I did not get the smaller set because I already have them in here. So I'll pop a picture of the light layers base set on here in case you're wanting a smaller set. That one retails for $38. There's also an everything eye set, which I was really excited about. This has 2 double-ended brushes and then 3 single-ended brushes. And this one was $25. There's also an everything cream brush and an everything powder brush. Both of these retail for $16. These are different from any of the brushes in the light layers base set or the premium set, but I will specify if I think it's worth it to have these or the set or all of them. And then I skipped out on the powder puff. She came out with a set of 2 powder puffs with a little adjustable strap, but I use this same pack of powder puffs from Amazon all the time, and it's a big pack for $4, so I didn't feel the need to venture out and try anything else because I'm happy with those. But for a makeup artist or someone who likes having that strap there and to be able to adjust it, I think that would be a really good find for you, and it's a very unique concept. Before I even put any of these on my face, I wanted to talk about the design a little bit. The handle color is this really pretty metallic brown. So these look, I feel like, a lot more expensive than they actually are. The bristles are so soft. They feel like they're really good quality, and I have washed them all once and they washed and dried really well. They held their shape. They didn't take a super long time to dry, and I didn't notice a lot of bristle loss when washing. Something that drives me crazy when you go to wash a brush and you notice like a ton of bristles are coming out right away. And she does have a little rhinestone indicator on the side that is designated for cream products. So that makes it really easy if you are not super familiar with makeup and you're wondering, okay, which side do I use for cream products and which side do I use for powder products? Obviously you can use it however you want, but I think it's really nice that she put this little indicator on here to make it easier for us. Let's start with the Skin Prep brush. This is the only brush in the collection that is silver, and so it's easy to pick out if you're looking for it quickly. This is the one I thought would be kind of gimmicky. I didn't think it was one that I would use on a regular basis, but it's honestly probably my favorite in the entire collection. I use it every day. I really like this bigger side for my Rhode Highlight Milk, and then I like the smaller side here for my under eye corrector, which if you've seen any of my videos, you know I cannot live without this stuff. So let's go ahead and apply the Highlight Milk with this. I'm just taking a couple of drops onto my hand, working the brush in there, and then putting it on the high points of my face. This shape is really nice because it hugs your cheekbone and your jawline really well. The smaller side of this is perfect for under eye corrector. It's the perfect balance between being dense enough to actually pick up product, but soft enough to blend it nicely. I used to just apply this product with my fingers, and this does use more product, but I think the finish is nicer. Going in with the contour brush next, this has a larger side for your cheekbones, your forehead, your jaw, and then a smaller side to go along your nose, into your eye, any smaller detail areas that you want to contour. So I'm just taking my little contour stick and applying it to my hand. And then picking it up with this brush here. I think the big theme with all of these brushes that I've noticed right away is that they really are dense enough to pick up the product and put it exactly where you want it, but so soft. And that balance is really hard to find in brushes, especially consistently throughout an entire brush set. And taking a little bit more to do my nose and my eyes with the smaller side. This brush is really good for going on the side of your nose and then just following it up into your eyelid. So you can kind of do that nice fluid motion. Next brush is the bronze brush. So it has one side for cream and one side for your powder bronzer. Dipping the cream side into my bronzer and then going over the areas that I want to be a little bit more warmed up. Just to show you the difference in size and shape, this is the contour brush and this is the bronzer brush. So you can see the contour brush is a little bit smaller and more precise, and the bronzer brush is a little bit fluffier. Next up is the blush and highlight brush. This is the cream side, and then there's a fluffier side for powder. So I'm using the cream side to go in with my liquid blush. So just blending those together and then applying it onto my cheeks. This blush brush is a little bit less dense than the contour and bronze brushes. It's a little bit fluffier than any of the other brushes so far, but it's so small that it's easy to still keep your blush exactly where you want it, which is nice. I kind of want a sunburn look today, so I'm gonna take this over my nose. Really like this one. It's easy to get your products applied quickly. It does not leave any sort of brush streaks. It doesn't pick up the product underneath. Sometimes when I've used cream blush brushes in the past, they would pick up any of that bronzer or any other product I had on underneath, and this one so far does not do that, which is okay. I'm going in with a little bit of concealer also on my hand. And this is what the concealer brush looks like. We've got the cream side here for your concealer and then the smaller, fluffier side for your powder. This has been one of my favorite brushes in the collection as well. I didn't realize I didn't have a concealer brush that I really loved until I found this one and decided I really loved it. This blends the concealer perfectly, and it's such a good size to be able to get right under your eyes without dragging the product too far down into your blush. Next is the foundation brush. So we have the cream side here. It's a little bit smaller and more dense, and then the powder side here, which is a little bit fluffier. But one thing that I like to do when I've underpainted is to use the more dense side on areas where I don't have any product, and then use the fluffier side to lightly go over the areas where I have my contour and my bronzer and my blush, so that I get a little bit of coverage to kind of blend everything out without covering it up completely. I'm gonna put some foundation onto my hand here, get some on that more dense side, and then just dab it into the areas where I don't have product yet. And then I'm taking the fluffier side and just grabbing whatever is left over, which is honestly the tiniest amount, just to very lightly blend over where I already have product. Really, really like this brush too. I'm very picky about foundation brushes. Next, I'm going in with some setting powder on that same concealer brush, just on the powder side, and I'm just working that in and then setting my under eyes very lightly. I don't like a ton of powder these days just because I am getting older, so I feel like powder accentuates texture a little bit more than it used to, and I'm still kind of learning how to work with that on my skin, but this brush does a good job of getting enough product on there to adequately set your concealer or whatever you have around your eyes without caking a ton of it on and just making it look dry and crepey. Next, I'm taking my powder bronzer and going back with that bronzer brush, just the powder side. This brush is a lot bigger and fuller than I would normally go for a bronzer brush. I usually like something that's a little bit smaller, a little bit more precise. So let's see, I'm just gonna swirl this in. Yeah, and just go over where I did that cream bronzer. Such a light application. I honestly can't tell if any product is getting on there. Does this side look more bronzed? I don't know. It's gliding perfectly. It's not sticking to the cream products underneath. You know how with some brushes, it can feel like it's just pulling the product underneath? It doesn't feel like that with this one. Okay, I can definitely see where it's looking a little bit more bronze. So this is putting some product down. And honestly, I can get bronzer blindness really quickly and easily. So this brush I think will help prevent that because it does disperse just the tiniest bit of product. Moving on to powder blush. I am using the other side of the blush and highlight brush, and I go in with a lot of blush. So let's see how this brush does. This is also a little bit bigger and fluffier of a blush brush than I would normally use. Honestly, for powders, I don't typically use something that's much bigger than this cream side, so this is significantly bigger for me. I actually really love this one, and I forgot I want that sunburn look, so let's go ahead and put this everywhere. Next, I'm gonna go in with my highlight, and I'm taking the same powder side. I just go in with all the shades here and just kind of put it on the high points. I think for highlight, I would prefer a smaller brush, but it gets the job done. I feel like if you have a lot of texture on your skin though, using a brush this big for highlight might emphasize it because it might get the highlight in areas that you don't necessarily want it. But the last brush in the premium set that I haven't talked about yet is the lip contour brush. So I'll use this at the end, but just keep in mind this goes with all of the other face brushes. The last thing that was in the premium brush set is this brush case. Nice for travel. It's got a little zip compartment here. I normally just throw my brushes into my makeup kit, and honestly, I don't really like the idea of storing, I'm trying to grab this out of here, a double-ended brush vertically. It just kind of feels like it would fray the bristles a little bit, so I probably won't use this too much. This is not a hard plastic, just FYI. It is a soft, bendy material. But it's cute, it's nice to have added. I just don't think that I personally would get a lot of use out of it. Let's move on to eyes for now. I'm taking the first brush in the eye set. This is the all over blending brush, and I'm starting with the cream side here to go into a cream eyeshadow. Okay, that blends extremely easily. It didn't leave any lines or any creases. She really did an awesome job picking brushes and designing brushes that blend products really nicely while still feeling so soft on your eyes. I feel like I'm really picky with eye brushes because I have sensitive eyes, and so the feeling of rough bristles on my eyelid is just cringy to me, and these are the softest things. So really like that cream side. Then I'm taking the blending side, and I'm just gonna grab like a mauve-y eyeshadow and just throw it all over my lid. This little blender brush is a good size. It's large enough to be able to cover a lot of surface area at once without being so large that you're just getting shadow everywhere. I normally don't do very intensive eye looks, but I want to use all of the brushes in this set. So next I'm going in with the Air Paw brush, and I'm taking a light shade with this. This one is really good for a soft cut crease or a full cut crease, just to like really get in that inner portion of your eye and brighten it up. Next, I'm gonna take the crease brush, which I feel like most of the crease brushes that I've had in the past look more like this. So I think it's interesting to have a brush that's a little bit more elongated and oval shaped than the typical round shape. And I'm just taking, again, a mix of some darker mauves. I was impressed with this brush because it packs on enough color without harshly putting a stripe of darker shadow on your lid. Sometimes brushes that are this shape get too much product on your eyes, and then it's really hard to blend it out unless you're really good at makeup, which I still struggle with blending. So I like products like this that make it easy. Okay, then I'm taking the Detail and Diffuse brush. It's just a much smaller detailed brush. Here it is compared to the blending brush. I'm just gonna take some more darker colors and kind of put these on the outer portion of my eye. Then I'm gonna add a little bit of pencil eyeliner. I just do the tiniest bit, taking the line and smudge brush to blend it out. That blended so easily and so nicely. And then I'm also gonna take that same side and just blend a little bit of shadow over top of it. Then I'm taking the liner side and going in with a very dark eyeshadow and just doing a tiny little wing right on the outer corner. This does a really good job of getting a super subtle, sharp wing, and it's again very soft. I added a little bit of mascara, and while that's still drying, I'm gonna go ahead and move on to lips. I'm just taking a lip liner and the lip contour brush. There's a little smudger side to blend out your lip liner, and then this side I'm gonna try to put a little bit of concealer around the outside of my lips to see if it makes it look sharper. I never do that, so we'll see if that is worth the extra step. It blends out really nicely and really easily. I usually have a hard time blending out lip liner, so I always put chapstick on beforehand, and that kind of helps it blend a little bit better. Then I'm gonna take the tiniest dot of concealer, like super tiny, and just going in with that other side and going around my lips to kind of clean it up. I don't really know if that made a huge difference. I think it did a little bit. So if you're someone who likes to do that step, this is a good brush for it. It's just not a step that I would probably go out of my way to add unless I had a lot of time. Let's now talk about the Everything Cream Brush. This is that $16 brush that's sold separately and differs from anything that's in the kits. This is supposed to be an all-in-one brush for people who are traveling or just kind of minimalistic with their makeup. You can use the larger side for foundation, cream bronzer, cream blush, and the smaller side for concealer or like a contour. I think $16 is a really good deal for this because you can use it in so many different ways and it was kind of designed to work with so many different types of products. Performance-wise, I think it's a really nice brush. It's super soft, but still dense just like the rest of them. It blends products beautifully. I didn't notice any issue with how it actually applied products. But that said, I don't personally love the idea of using one brush for multiple different products. You'd have to wash this brush like daily, which maybe is not a big deal to a lot of people, but I feel like if I put foundation on with this and then bronzer and then blush and then went to do my makeup the next morning without having washed this, it would just blend all the products together. So I personally prefer to have different brushes for different products for that reason, but if you're someone who does not mind washing your brushes every day, then you might love this. It is only one brush to wash, so I guess it wouldn't be that time intensive, but just something to consider. I also do think that this brush overlaps quite a bit with some of the brushes in the premium set. So even though this isn't the same brush, I don't necessarily think it's worth having both. This is probably the brush that I would let go of if I was cutting one from my collection. So for the larger side, the bronzer brush in the premium set is so similar. It's a little bit smaller, but honestly, they're very similar. And I like a smaller bronzer brush. I feel like this might be a little bit too big to do my cream bronzer just because I like it to be a little bit more precise and targeted. So if you have this one from the set, I don't necessarily think it's also worth having this one. And that was something that I was confused about when I was purchasing these brushes because there wasn't really a lot out there on whether this was super similar to what was in the sets or not. And to me, it is. The other side of the brush, this little smaller side here, is so similar to the cream blush brush from the premium set. I feel like are honestly almost identical. This one's a little bit longer. It's a tiny bit fluffier, but it's also somewhat similar to the concealer brush. I just feel like these aren't different enough to justify needing this unless you are, again, someone who travels and wants a specific brush that you can just throw in your bag and not have to pack your other ones. But if you're just at home doing your makeup on a day-to-day basis and you have a bigger set, I don't think that this one is the most necessary. The Everything powder brush is also kind of similar in that regard, but I do think I'll get more use out of this brush than the Everything cream brush. There's a larger side here that you can use for all over face powder or blush, and then a smaller side that you can use to set under your eyes or do like a powder highlight. I like this brush for highlight better than I like any of the brushes that came in the premium set for highlight. I think I mentioned when I was doing my makeup that I like a smaller, more precise brush. So this brush I can see myself using on a regular basis for highlight. And then the fluffier side is really good for blush. Let me show you the difference between this and the blush brush. They're so similar. This one has more of that blush brush look where it kind of tapers out, whereas this one tapers in. But honestly, they're like quite identical. And then this smaller powder side is probably most comparable to the under eye powder brush. This one's a little bit thicker and more dense, so it's kind of like right in between this one and the blush brush, but again, I don't necessarily think that this is a need if you already have the premium set. So overall thoughts is I would go with the premium set if you're wanting a comprehensive brush set that kind of covers everything that you would need, looks really pretty on your vanity, really good quality, and not a super expensive price point for brushes. This is a wonderful brush set. I'm so glad that I have it, and I can see myself using this for a very long time. I really hope that this was helpful if you were wondering if these brushes are worth it from someone who is not a makeup artist and just bought this stuff with her own money, and as someone who is more minimalistic and I don't want a bunch of random stuff around my house that I'm not going to be using. I genuinely love these and I'm going to use them. Let me know if you have any questions, and thank you for watching.